Well, happy New Year to you, ladies and gentlemen. A very good afternoon from wherever you're watching us. Of course, it's such a pleasure having you on yet another important and interesting episode of the Candid Talk. Now, well, I'm joined by the one and only topmost and of course most sought after political analyst and commentator, Professor Herman Manyora, here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. Prof, how are you?
Wonderful. I'm doing good.
How's your year begun?
Wonderful. Yes.
I see they say these are a year of expansion of territories and boundaries.
Yes.
And as the Kenyans do say, ni mwaka wa kupanuliwa mipaka.
No, frontiers, yes.
No, Prof, we are starting this year on a very, let me say, sort of a good note for some people, sad note for others. I looked at today's paper, actually. I was going through Taifa Leo, and of course, that's a publication of the Nation Media Group, and the title there, of course, estranged. They actually wrote their Sabunia Kenya Kwanza, definitely loosely translated as the Kenya Kwanzas, or rather sanitizer for that matter. We've seen a number of cases being dropped, but initially we talked about this earlier on and we thought that perhaps things could change. Now, recently, there is this case of the lady Mary Wambui. Of course, she's been appointed as the chair of Communication Authority of Kenya, and she was a very close ally of the president, and she actually was facing a tax evasion case of course, about 2 billion shillings. And that case has also been withdrawn, Prof. Do you think that the sanitization program is still going on, and where are we headed as a nation?
We are in a political space, and all these things happen in a political space. Even hours before leaving White House, Trump was still using power of his office to pardon people. So, I mean, the Kenyans behave as if these are new things. These things happen everywhere. When the president has power even to pardon people, they pardon people, even criminals. What should we talk about is that there is this general feeling in the country that people associated with the president of very dubious pasts are being given high-profile jobs in the country. And that close associate of the president who have bad criminal charges against them, these charges are being withdrawn. This is a general feeling. It could be correct, it could be true. Maybe it could just be the natural way justice works, that actually indeed they are not guilty. But there are a lot of question marks. The speed with which this is happening. Why is it that almost all of them, to a man, to a woman, if you may add one boy, and Aisha Juma and perhaps somebody else, well, how come all of them are associated with the president? And the other question is, the things they are saying now as what is being cited as they withdraw the cases. You want to tell me the courts were not seeing those things? The DPP was taking forward cases that had all of them. So, apart from it being perception, there are also question marks. An intelligent mind will not stop questioning things. So people will question. That doesn't mean we could be right when we question. We could be wrong. Yeah.
Now, Prof, the president was asked the other day in that kind of joint interview with journalists across different media stations in this country, and he stated categorically that some of these cases, just as we've always been told, a number of times Kenyans have actually wondered why some of these cases are being dropped, and he's given us the same rhetoric that has always been there. Of course, I don't know how Kenyans now look at it, but it's becoming more of a cliche of trumped-up charges and so on and so forth. But then this one is a little bit different. He says that, okay, basically from what I read on the papers is that this lady has now suddenly got into some sort of an arrangement with the care, or rather the taxman, on how to actually pay this tax of 2 billion. Let's get from the president's view. First of all, do you buy this kind of idea that any time that some of these cases are dropped, then even the president would actually kind of alienate himself from the cases and then come up again and tell us that there were trumped up charges which were used by the previous regime to settle political scores?
It's possible, but look here. Caesar's wife must be beyond reproach. Mere suspicion is enough. I have said this before. Because we have to admit, sometimes I meet people in the streets, they greet me and they laugh. I ask them, what's the problem? Poor, dirty third world country. People are shooting me with that. Kenya is a poor, dirty third world country. But it's not just laughable or comical. We live in a country where millions of people cannot access food. In a country where 80% of Nairobians or urban dwellers can't access clean water. They have not seen water, and they don't have piped water. They live in things we can't even call slums. You need to look for another word. We live in a country where millions of young people, most of them with education, don't have jobs. A ticking time bomb. We live in a country where many people go to bed hungry. We live in a country where people watch people die. I've seen it myself. You just watch as somebody dies because you cannot afford to take them to hospital. This is the country we live in. This country requires some seriousness we don't seem prepared to usher in. To save this country, you need some degree of seriousness. But we have chosen to remain a poor, dirty third world country. One of the ways you need to do, you cannot have this kind of dubious people managing the affairs of the country and hope to get out of what we are. You cannot. The countries we admire, I've said this many times, there are countries we admire, we are willing to go there. If the bomb blast had happened, and thank God, when the bomb blast at the American embassy happened in 1998 or thereabouts, if it had happened before the change in the visa application process, the Americans had just changed from physically queuing for visa to online application. They had just changed. We were young men those days, we were trying to fly to go where and where, I know. If they hadn't changed from physically presenting yourself at the American embassy to doing it online, the number of Kenyans that would have died at the bomb blast. Why? People are dying to go to America, a country that has been made what it is by Americans. Africans are ready to die across the Mediterranean, trying to cross as illegal immigrants into Europe. But their countries are still dirty, but they do not know the role of leadership. How do you make a country great when people of dubious character are given leadership positions? We want Kenyans to pay taxes. It is taxes that grow a country. How do Kenyans pay taxes even voluntarily? You go to a place like Netherlands, somebody gets some little money, goes to the taxman, and I've just earned this money from some place. How much do I pay tax? And below 8,000 euros. That one you can keep. It is not attracting tax. But anajipeleka mwenyewe. How do people feel happy and free to pay taxes when there are people who have been accused of evasion of 2 billion shillings and you are giving them positions of leadership? What do they feel? So on the one hand, you are saying Kenya should pay taxes. You want to treble, you want to double. But then you are taking a guy accused of tax evasion, 2 billion shillings, and giving them position and sanitizing them. I must point out clearly, it does not matter whether there is any shred of truth or not. But I'm also convinced the taxman is not an idiot. The taxman is not mad enough to put a tax liability on you unless there's some shred of truth. I have also been given things that were not true by taxmen, but they will always be working from somewhere, so that when you go, you can sort out with them. Maybe those of us who pay through our employer, maybe your employer has not been remitting. So why else I cannot jump and say they are lying to me, I should pay 4 million like they charged me with? When I go to the taxman, I find it's true my employer has not been remitting. And my employer does not have the responsibility. It's my responsibility. The employer is merely an agent to collect tax on behalf of the taxman. So if somebody is accused of 2 billion shillings and the case goes on for a long time, it means they have not had time to clarify to the taxman that actually that is wrong calculation. It means there's an element of truth. You cannot get a person like that and give them a senior government appointment. You cannot. You cannot convince anybody you are serious. So what am I saying? I'm saying the country we live in, we have chosen to live in a country that is poor, dirty, third world, with all the miseries for the citizens, and we're happy about it. Yeah.
No, the president actually, the president has always been here urging Kenyans to pay taxes, and he said that about is actually saying that those who are at the top actually do kind of find it difficult paying taxes, but then the common mwananchi down here actually do pay their taxes almost to a shilling. Now, my question is this now, Prof. What does this tell of our president when we see such kind of people actually being released and going scot-free and are still being paid by the same taxpayers? So does it mean that the common mwananchi down here actually suffers to raise taxes that is used to pay such kind of people? So what does this tell us about the president? Or does it actually amount to double speak? And
It's not double speak. The president is not engaged in double speak. The president is simply not serious. The president doesn't seem to understand the magnitude of the problem and the challenges we face as a country. That's the only challenge there is. He doesn't seem to understand. He doesn't seem to understand the meaning of image and how you encourage people to feel happy to be Kenyans, to want to help their country to move forward, to want to pay taxes. He doesn't seem to understand. You don't get people like those. And I'm not saying they are guilty. I'm not saying they are guilty. But I'm saying Caesar's wife must be beyond reproach. You don't get a man accused of evasion of billions of shillings through all manner of things, whether it is correct or not, but it's there in public domain, and go and hang out in his hotel and leave governments millions there. You don't do that because the signal you are sending is wrong. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that man. And I'm saying that guy was accused of tax evasion running into billions of shillings. Okay? That has not been resolved. This lady's case has not been resolved. Then you give this lady a job, you go to that guy's hotel and hang out there with the whole cabinet, the whole government. You can't convince anybody you are serious. You could be serious, yes. But matters of public is about perception. I have said this thing until I will stop saying it, because seems like the government, Ruto and everybody and the Kenyans don't seem to understand. Perception in public affairs is everything. That's why developed countries like America, countries in Europe, public opinion is so important. Ratings of the president is so important. The president cares a lot what the country thinks about him and about his administration. Because these are public matters. Matters of public, what the public thinks is critical. You cannot get a lady accused of tax evasion of 2 billion shillings and give her a big job. Get another one, parade the government, give them a job or do what and parade the whole government, go to his place. I know Jesus went to Zacchaeus' place for dinner, but okay, fine.
No, Prof. As we wrap up this conversation, does it mean that actually right now in Kenya, this government sanitizer is already there, such that as long as you play along to the tune of the government, then you're good to go? But if you decide to do otherwise, then actually your goose is cooked.
You know, my President William Samoei Ruto, is squandering a chance which Kibaki also squandered. When Kibaki took over power, Kenyans were the most optimistic people on earth in a survey. This is not just hearsay. Kenyans were willing even to arrest policemen on the roads, taking bribes. But Kibaki squandered that. He played to the tribalists of his day and squandered an opportunity that Kenyans would have used to clean the country of all corruption and particularly get rid of tribalism. He listened to tribal bigots. Today Ruto is so popular. Ruto is so strong. He's so secure in his presidency. He's so safe in his presidency. He could call the bluff of all these Ngorokos. He could tell of anybody with a criminal record. He could chase away all friends who have rotten history and records. He could have nothing to do with thieves and conmen. And nothing will happen to him. Ruto today can tell of parliament when they want to freeze the public, milk the public, extent they agree to every penny they can lay their eyes on. Ruto can tell of MPs and nothing will happen to him. He's in such a safe position that he could have done great service to this country by facing anybody and telling him, you know, go and clean yourself, come when you are clean. Take Omo, take Jik, go to the river, clean yourself, come back. So I don't understand why he's not doing that, because history will reward him greatly. Because many other people will have a problem. Doing that will not be easy. What I know is not easy is going for crooks. Trying to deal with these ngorokos, you cannot manage. These cartels, it's very difficult. That I know is they can bring you down. But dealing with these small crooks who have stolen and what, bringing them, giving them jobs, why do you want to give them jobs? Tell them, I'm giving you 1 year, you're my friend, go and clean yourself. Then come, I'll give you a small parastatal job.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we wrap the conversation here at that point, actually here at Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. And of course, we are still continuing here to wish you a very happy new year. And of course, we've said, clearly stated that we are always on the ground to ensure that we keep you updated on everything that goes on in this country. And of course, we have Professor Herman Manyora here ready to help us understand with his deep analysis of everything that is taking place within the country and outside the country. Till we have this conversation again, have yourself a very lovely day. My name is Evans Okinyi.